The next session, as I mentioned, is about XR, or experiential, beyond the boundaries. To lead the next session is Andrea Abrams. She's the founder and chief executive of FijiCode. She's an investor, board member, top 100 women of the future, curator and host of FijiCode Wednesday at Web3 Hub at Davos. She's a rock star in her own right. Please welcome Andrea Abrams to the stage and her panel.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Eric and the team. It's been really a great day, and it's so exciting to have so many intelligent conversations. I do a lot of this with Mike around the world, and we always try to bring a little bit of fun also to our topic of XR. So today we're going to talk about XR in general. And from transforming the way we shop to reimagining entertainment, XR is not really just about technology, but it's really about a cultural transformation. It's changing the way we consume products and experiences, and it's enriching our lives in many different ways. So I like to think about XR the way we were thinking about the internet in the mid-90s when I joined the shopping center industry, and we thought e-commerce was never going to be a threat. The ecosystem of extended realities is seeing a high growth due to the increasing investment in augmented reality and virtual reality, which we're going to talk about now, as well as great advancement in connected devices. So at FijiCode, we're focusing a lot on connected products as well as connected experiences to make it very easy for mass adoption. The increasing penetration of 5G as a technology that is further expected to propel adoption of the extended reality tech that exists and the hardware that exists today, will also help us with distribution of the processing capabilities. I always like to say, when I started in the retail and entertainment industry in the 90s, we had great ideas, but we couldn't do it with a dial-up connection. So until you have the infrastructure and until you have the hardware, the ideas can't really be mass adopted. Speaking of infrastructure, we rely a lot on tech giants and governments to dictate when that happens, but we can't really get to an infrastructure being useful for the masses until we start really creating a conduit, a code, a transition. And today I'm really excited to be joined by two founders who are building the tools and infrastructure needed for XR to become a robust aspect of how we consume products and experiences. They are both what I like to call ecosystem enablers. They are the necessary bridge for mass adoption of the new way we're going to live. So I'd like to welcome Mike Charalambous, co-founder and CEO of 3Dium, and Georgi Vysotsky, co-founder of Gracia AI. And I'd like to start by asking you both to tell me a little bit about not only what your company does, but why you believe that your companies are indispensable today in the industry areas of focus you've chosen for this transition into a more immersive and digital life.
Shall I go first?
Yeah.
So it's a great question, and I don't want to go into a pitching mode right now, but the reality is the world is changing. Consumer behaviors are changing, and brands start to understand that if I do not evolve, I'm very soon going to become obsolete by either new upcoming brands that they can move faster, that they can be more agile, or I'm just going to fail to understand what my customers start to demand, and therefore I'm just going to lose that touch. And right now we're seeing from studies that people actually demand a way more personalized experience when it comes to their product discovery stages, when it comes to the way that they connect with brands. So what our technology does from an XR perspective, or the so-called special web, is that we are redefining personalization. We are redefining convenience when it comes to product exploring, when it comes to discovering products. We introduce a new way for the brands to elevate their product displays so that people can explore them from different angles, move away from static images or videos that are too boring to sit there and consume. We don't have time to watch videos, and pictures have become so immune to the eye that it doesn't really elevate our purchase intention when it comes to buying stuff. So you want to have a different media format that elevates this confidence for you to go and buy. So just purely from a cognitive perspective, XR is very, very critical for the brands. Then comes the element of data, which is a key component for the evolution and the decision-making of brands, because data is the CEO of any company. And what is happening is that through static images or videos, you can't really tell much about how a customer is perceiving your product, what it is exactly that they're focusing on a product. But then enters real-time 3D and augmented reality, and then you start seeing people actually interacting with them. Like, they're browsing their hands with the products, they're zooming in. You're able to then start understand how much time they spend on a specific element of a product. If it's a bag, do they zoom in more on the stitches? Do they care more about the inside of the bag? How much time they spend checking the inside of the bag versus outside? And then all these things are key for brands to be able to gather more precise information around user behavior. Top that with customer segmentation. So now, by taking this data of user behavior, connecting with the customer segmentation, all of a sudden, if you're, let's say, Nike, you'll know that Mike likes to go Nike side, and typically Mike spends more time interacting with darker color shoes. And by the way, Mike shows that he's more avid in adding things in his basket if he sees the sole of the shoe. So the next time that Mike goes on the Nike side, that real-time XR experience or a 3D viewer, it's going to automatically adjust so that Mike is going to see the darker color of that collection, and it's going to change the camera angle so that Mike immediately sees the sole. And that's how you turn the whole customer-facing experiences into a much more personalized experience through a whole new media format. And the brands don't need to do anything more than that, other than just leave the data do its own work, basically. And I hope I wasn't being too sophisticated. But
how about you, Georgie?
Yeah, basically, we're in a bit different space. We do volumetric videos, and volumetric video means that you know in a very, every moment of time how the video looks like from any viewpoint inside of it, so 360 freedom inside of the video. And we leverage AI, basically the new technology called NERF and Gaussian splatting, they unlock photorealistic volumetric videos, so really indistinguishable from the real life. So we are going to kind of entertainment industry and VR, and we are very dependent on this infrastructure, as you said. So our VR helps us basically to unlock the full potential of the technology and enables you to feel present in the scene. So you have all the parallax effect, you feel really inside of the video and be kind of a part of it. So basically, we really depend on the infrastructure, and VR is currently stuck with the gaming, and it's kind of obvious for everyone. And talking more and more with Meta, I realized that they kind of agree that VR's future lies beyond gaming, in fitness experiences, learning experience, B2B trainings, etc. So, and these experiences, they should be, in my point of view, they should be photorealistic and as lifelike as you can do it in VR. So, and it's just only the first step, the stepping stone in the future with wearables, etc. So when you don't put huge headset on your head, so it's just the first step to make offline events, enable to visit offline events as you were actually there in VR. So that's what we do.
So taking a little bit of a step back for anybody who is not familiar with the hardware involved in what you both do, right? So we're talking about augmented reality, and we're also talking about virtual reality. Let's talk a little bit about, and we'll get to gaming, we'll get to the gamification of everything we do, because it can't really be mass adopted until everybody's comfortable using some of the technology that requires the interaction with these more immersive assets, which pretty soon are going to be an extension of ourselves, right? So we are already working with chips and NFCs and things that connect our physicality with these 3D assets, whether they're digital copies of something or they're something that we're contributing to. But let's talk about the limitations today. You're talking about headsets, for example. Mike, and in your world, it's a little bit different because you're working for brands in the retail industry where you are a white label solution provider, relying a little bit on their hardware and their distribution. If you can think about the next 5 years, where do you think the limits are today, and what are the steps that need to be taken? And I'm talking hardware, cost, education, anything that you see as a roadblock today?
Look, I mean, for us, the only roadblock to typically scale is budget. I mean, we're going through a rough period in the world economy that just brands, their number one priority is cost cutting. And this ultimately impacts the ability to innovate. So at times where economy is flourishing, the innovation is at its peak. At times where economies are down and people are losing jobs, obviously brands cannot really truly innovate, and that I think that is the number one barrier to scalability of any sort of technology, right? Then comes the whole promise of XR and headsets and what have you. As a company, we took the bet or our position not to depend heavily on headsets to function. So we needed to find a way to pay our bills, and basically we build an infrastructure that works through any screen, whether that is a mobile phone, a headset, an iPad, a smart screen, whatever. That assumption is actually better because it's more closer to where the market is right now. And we don't need to keep doing things and selling a story and trying to convince brands that people are eventually going to all go around walking around wearing headsets, which I don't think is ever going to happen. But mobile phones are becoming ever more sophisticated. They're truly an extension of our hands. So our assumption is that basically mobile phones are going to continue becoming a critical shopping assistant to us in the future. Now, whether that mobile device is going to go into smart glasses or it's going to continue as a device, we don't care, but we know that, and we're seeing the data, that people just cannot go shopping without their phones anymore. And therefore, that's our angle, our Trojan horse, if you like, as to how we use those devices to accelerate the impact in retail.
How about in your space with VR?
Yeah, we definitely have two major limitations. First one is hardware. It's just a matter of time. You have now 45 million headsets shipped worldwide, approximately 20 of them probably monthly used, so more than a half are now lying on a shelf collecting the dust, and that's the main issue with VR, the retention part. And it's just basically the retention is a function of how much reasons do you have to wear a headset again. So basically, can you provide something beyond gaming, which basically excites you more to use VR often? And the second part is education, and it's not like kind of a secret that most of the audiences in VR is like 15 to 25 years older currently. So it's about education, and we just focus in, like our strategy is not just trying to adopt and make people in 45 years old like buy a headset and use it every day. We would rather try to find our product market fit, like delivering experiences and like experiences I mentioned, volumetric videos to this particular audience, so they are going to become like initial, I would say, inception of the technology, and later it expands like it was with prior technologies.
So I'm going to do something that Mike knows I like to do, because we're talking about things that unless you're in our space, you probably never experienced. So I'd like to ask the audience how many of you have ever tried on a VR headset?
Oh, it's
good.
Quite a good penetration.
And how many of you are older than 25? Okay.
Fewer hands.
Okay. I rest my case.
Sorry.
So adoption is here. And actually, normally I would be wearing my Meta glasses, but I only brought the sunglasses today, and it would be difficult on this light. But my colleague is wearing them. So
you better ask how many of you use it at least once a month.
Well, in here we're going to go to gaming, right? So how many of you consider yourselves gamers in the traditional sense? Not too many. And
even if you're above 25.
And how many of you feel like gamified experiences, like Pokemon Go, like where physical and digital are combined, are a fun way to do things? Like, would you like more of that in the way you do things? Okay. But interestingly enough, most of you have experienced gamification in the way you're shopping on e-commerce sites and the way you're being pitched events and activities that are more treasure hunt oriented. You just don't know it. And that's really what we see in the retail industry, for example, a lot of the trend in bringing people back to the stores because we need to bring transactions back. And of course, we all go with the phone, and how do we get people to actually find something more exciting? So I would like to ask Mike and Georgie, obviously you guys are very involved in the gamification of the world. Where do you see gamification as a strategy, as a way of living, from where you started? And I know, Mike, you've got quite a history there. Obviously, you're still in it in some ways, to when it's just a part of our life. I mean, where do you see gamification in what you do and the change we're experiencing?
I can start. So if you think about it, first of all, gaming comes from our own, personal behaviors, right? Why are people addicted into games? Is because they're growing in levels and they're becoming better in the game and they're becoming a pro, and that kind of feeling is that makes them more addicted in the game. That is also, if you think about it, a reflection of our reality, right? Because in our lives, our purpose is to become a better version of ourselves. So everything that we do is to grow up in levels, right? And this is why gaming is such an interesting concept when you apply it in anything you do in life, even in business, right? When it comes to retail, to entertainment, to whatever, because just it uses the same, it's a concept called octalysis, basically, and there's like 8 different things that you stimulate in a person's mind when you trigger a gaming effect. And therefore, this is what we always try to do, to take this octalysis theory and embed it into the strategy of any kind of product that we launch out into the market, that it's going to, in a way, ensure us that builds this hook with customers, in this case consumers from our perspective, so that they become very addicted to these kind of media formats and technologies, and they then demand them, so that the brands are then forced to come in and invest in our technologies and use them. And actually, what got us to create 3Dium in the early days was because we were testing different media formats, because we were able to see that, banner ads were becoming so immune to people. So we wanted to figure out a new media format that gets people more immersed into it. And we started using sorts of different interactive methods, like instead of seeing an information in a banner ad, we wanted people to go and solve a mini quiz on the banner ad to see what kind of reward or information the brand wanted to do. So it was more of like forcing the user to do an action to get rewarded. And this kind of thing led us to 3D and how 3D can become more interactive and get people to interact with it. And then 3D became a thing, and then we raised a bunch of money, and now we're working with LVMH and L'Oreal, and we're doing all right.
How about you?
Yeah, as we work in VR, and as I mentioned, VR is currently mostly about gaming, so we definitely need to find an intersection between like what we are building and trying to differentiate from VR, at the same time addressing the same audience of users, like as our initial group of users who need to adopt it first. So for us, it's more about like game mechanics, like interfaces, etc. So just because our audience is already into it, so we just need to provide new experiences in the same way they used to consume it, with all teleportations, with all the interfaces, menus, drop downs, etc. So that's how we are trying to kind of combine it. Of course, like at scale, gamification can help you with retention, etc. Definitely, like making collections of experiences. Like I feel it on even myself. So Euro 2024, I collect stickers of players in my album. So it just makes me to spend an enormous amount of money and time. But just I like putting these stickers together. So that's what we already have in our pipeline of gamification, because we know that's definitely, yes, this the same dopamine circles that you try to utilize in order to engage your users more.
Georgie just described a retail marketer's dream.
Yeah, just I'm the target audience.
We only have 48 seconds, so my favorite way to end the panel, always split the time. One prediction for the second half of 2024.
Don't invest in property.
In property, okay. In the XR world, what do you think is going to be the big thing this year? More hardware like Beta, Ray-Bans, more?
It's a tough one. I think we're going to be seeing more companies investing into gaming mechanics, like doing more experiential campaigns to engage with the younger audiences. So we're going to be seeing more AR games and maybe investing a bit more into the Robloxes of the world. That is becoming a key marketing budget that goes away from traditional media. And I would say we're going to be seeing a lot of more of Apple Vision Pros being present in different conferences and what have you, because that is a great way for brands to tell their story.
Georgie?
Yeah, I fully agree with the Apple Vision Pro. So basically, when Quest 3 released, it was like 3 months before Apple Vision Pro. We expected to have kind of a new wave of attention to VR, but it was not massive. But when Apple Vision Pro just released, it was huge, like Gucci and Apple Vision Pro, etc. So the outreach of any collaboration with Apple Vision Pro is really enormous in comparison with the number of users who actually got Apple Vision Pro and who actually use it. So yeah, I think the Apple Vision Pro agenda will still continue until the end of this year, and then next year they're going to ship cheaper headset, and probably we will have another spike of interest to it. So.
Well, thank you guys. Georgie brought some equipment, so if you come to the roundtable session, you can try some of what he's going to show you.
Yeah, really excited
Thank
to
you,
show
everyone.
you. Thank you.
Perfect, guys.
And thank you, Andrea.